Hi, everyone. I'm Katina McHenry, Communications Director at the McComb School of Business at the University of Texas at Austin. You are joining us today on a special where we are taking time to highlight one of our classes within our MBA program. The class is called Leading for Impact. And the purpose of it is to pair our students with organizations throughout the Austin area and other places where our MBA programs are, Dallas and Houston. The students study the organization, they come up with suggestions, and they conduct research, and many times their research, their data, their information is adopted and implemented within these organizations. And that's what we're talking about today, because we've had a very wonderful and successful interaction between Austin Pets Alive and our MBA program and the Leading for Impact class. So I'd like to introduce to you those joining us today on this interview. First is Dr. Ellen Jefferson. She is the president and CEO of Austin Pets Alive. Also joining us today is Ethan Burris. He's a professor of management, and he is also director of our Center for Leadership and Ethics. And also joining us are two MBA students who have worked with Austin Pets Alive. Our first student is Hao-Sue Ewan. Wave your hand if you don't mind. And the other student is Nick Hill. Thank you for being here today, everybody. And the reason we're doing this today is because we've had a very successful interaction with our students and Austin Pets Alive, where they have taken the students' information, their data, and implemented into their strategies. And so that's what we're talking about today. Ethan, I'd like to start with you and talking a little bit more about the Leading for Impact class, what it is, what the purpose of it is, and what it really teaches the students.
So the class I teach is called Leading for Impact, and it's a 2-year-long leadership development course. It spans both years of the MBA program. And the goal is really twofold. In the first year, we expose students a lot to themselves. So looking internally on their own capabilities, their own skills, their own approaches to leadership, what some of the assumptions they have, and really identify areas that they would like to work on over the next couple of years throughout the rest of their coursework. And then in the second year of the program, we launched these capstone projects, and it lasts the entirety of the second year. And they work with organizations in the Austin community to enact their approaches on leadership, to assess an organization externally, and then apply all the concepts and frameworks and learnings that they've accrued throughout the MBA program to give some recommendations for how that organization can improve. So it's really the culmination of their experience across the 2 years, both in terms of them personally and their own personal development, but then also for the organizations in terms of enacting positive change.
Excellent. Well, two of the students in the group that worked with Austin Pets Alive obviously are here today, Hao-Sue and also Nick. So I'd love for you guys to talk about some of the things that you recognized about Austin Pets Alive and ways that you have helped them, and also the recommendations that you guys came up with. So Hao-Sue, I'll start with you.
All right, perfect. So I am Hao-Sue. I'm a software engineer. I mainly work in web, dealing with big data collection, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the asks provided to us was, hey, we kind of need to estimate these potential shelter capacities. And as someone who deals with data a long time, I figured, hey, this is a good area for me to take a look at. Can we build a model to do these predictive things? And fortunately for us, we had a very good statistics class in our first year, I believe, which taught us about building these models, which data is important, which is not. So considering that there wasn't any data processing done on this field yet, we saw a big opportunity to leverage our statistics course with what they wanted, which is basically building a model, a predictive model of what's out there in every zip code based on foster potential. So we did that, and we graphed our predicted model versus the actuals, and found that it was actually a pretty good fit. We also recognized there were some weaknesses of the model, and we made sure to bring that up during our presentation. But we found that this was a very, how should I put this? It seemed like a very reliable way to predict any foster potential in every zip code. So basically that segued into our suggestion of, you have all this data right now, how can we improve this data that we collect to make these predictions a little bit more accurate. For example, our distance calculation, we kind of had to estimate just because that was not collected in general. But in the end, I think we came out with a very good process for what they can do in the future, and some improvements to the data collection that will make doing this again in the future more accurate and hopefully a lot easier.
Yeah. So Nick, when you guys were first assigned with Austin Pets Alive, what were some of the first things that you thought of in ways that you guys could help based on your experience? You're in industry as well as getting your MBA. So what were some of your thoughts that you suggested?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I thought of was, wow, this is really cool. We get to work with Austin Pets Alive, which I thought was really exciting. It's an organization that I think has just a really amazing mission. And it was something that, all of us are pet lovers. Mine's like right off screen. So I think that was really exciting for us. As far as being able to apply the concepts that we've learned in the courses that we've taken, it was really nice to be able to contribute in that way and to be able to say, we're in a really relevant situation where we're looking to increase the number of fosters, we're looking to reduce the amount of animals in shelters, and we're looking to do that in a very systematic way. So taking the frameworks, the processes that we've learned within all of these courses, strategy, operations, marketing, statistics, and being able to apply that directly to a real world practical problem was really exciting and really challenging.
Yeah. Ellen, I would have thought that it would not have been difficult to, one, raise awareness, and two, get people to adopt animals in certain zip codes. So how has what the students presented to you guys, how has that made a difference in just the way that you guys operate and then in your strategies as well?
Well, it's a really good question. Our field is so archaic in so many ways. And so Austin Pets Alive has been a leader across the industry and actually has the highest number of foster homes of any shelter organization in the country. Wow. So we don't know what the capacity is. We don't have anybody to look to and say, oh, well, they've got 10% more in their cities, 50% the size of ours. So we're just guessing. And so, are we tapped out of fosters? We don't know. Do we keep saving animals? Because all around us in Texas, they're dying. And so we're really making strategic business decisions based on our foster capacity in Austin. And we didn't have the tools to do it. And so what this project did is help us to understand that we actually have a lot more foster capacity in Austin, put some numbers to it, put some areas to it, and specific things like demographics of who is fostering, who's most likely to foster, and how do we reach them. And so they were able to give us tips that have already started changing the way that we're marketing the need for foster homes and trying to appeal to the places where people are looking, the people that we want, that we know are most likely to pick up an animal and help us out, go to those places to advertise. And then also we have been sharing this. We're currently in conversations with shelters all over the country about changing the model of animal sheltering because it is so old and it doesn't need to be that way anymore. The public cares about animals. Nobody wants animals to go to a shelter and die, but they still are. Yeah. And we can be smarter in this era and do it better than it's ever been done before. And sadly, it's not hard, but this kind of information is helping us move the needle in a data-driven way, evidence-based way that makes it a lot more likely that other organizations are going to adopt the information and use it themselves. And so it's just been eaten up. The information that we got, the presentation that the students did and created for us and put in a video, we were able to share that with lots of different stakeholders, and people are just going crazy over it. So it is really a game changer for us. And it seems like a simple little student project, but it's actually very, very big for our organization and for our industry.
That's so fantastic. Ethan, when you hear that kind of feedback, what does it do for just what we're trying to do in the MBA program, the classes that are being offered very specifically? When you hear that feedback, how does it validate what we're all doing at McCombs?
Well, I guess I have a couple reactions. The first is, each of our classes serve a specific purpose and function. So if you take strategy, a lot of that coursework is about understanding how your organization competes in the marketplace. What are you doing that's different than others? As you dive into marketing, there's very specific strategies to get your name out there in a way that draws attention. For accounting and finance, there's ways to describe your organizations in terms of its financial stability. Yet at the same time, it's hard for us as faculty, and certainly as students, when you're in the middle of taking all these classes, to pull back and say, how do all of these align together and fit together to produce a substantive impact on the organization and what they're trying to accomplish?
Mhm.
And so for me, the class itself is the opportunity to pull away from the day-to-day of people's jobs and homework assignments and case studies, to really start to think comprehensively about the impact you can make given the tools that you've acquired over the course of the program.
Yeah.
And so, Catania, we have a small saying at UT about what starts here changes the world. And to me, that's what this class does. It helps really communicate to students and show very forcefully how applying these skills can make a substantive difference for the organizations that they partner with.
Yeah. And this is not anything new. This is something that McCombs has been offering for quite a while. And every year there's a new group of students as well as a new group of nonprofits and organizations that we partner with. So I think our reach is expanding across the metro, which is so fantastic. So
not
Nick,
just in Austin, we also have a presence in Houston and Dallas.
Right.
We have students in the TEMBA program that come up from San Antonio, so we have a presence down there as well. And this coming fall of 21, we'll be launching the program in our last MBA program, our executive MBA program. And so it'll be in all 5 programs. Steady state will have roughly about 100 projects that'll be running year in, year out.
That's awesome. So Nick and Haoshu, as you end this phase of your life in this chapter, what's your takeaway from just being a part of this program? Nick, I'll start with you.
I think the takeaway here is this was a great showing of what we have learned can make a big difference, and it can make a really positive difference in the communities around us. And for me, it's really about how do we continue that now? Right now that we have, we did this as part of our capstone as kind of a recognition moment as well of our graduation and what we've learned, but also how can we take that and continue doing that good and contributing in that way to these different organizations. So for me, it's just about how do we continue that and how do we keep that momentum going? Yeah.
Haoshu?
For me, a couple things. One of the first things that I took away is just how strong it is when you get different people from different, occupational backgrounds together on the same team. We got Nick, who does, training. He's very familiar with the customer journey and all that stuff. And I'm here doing tech. And then if I imagine this project would be a little bit more mundane if it was just, 5 customer lifetime people versus 5 tech people. So that was a huge benefit, being able to work with a bunch of people that are way different from me in terms of thought process and expertise. And then the second thing is mainly just like when you're focused on one aspect, especially in your work, you kind of, take that for granted. Like as somebody who's working with data all the time, you don't realize like, hey, how impactful data can be, and not necessarily everyone has the capability or the resources to do it. And, it just makes those little things feel a lot more significant in the grand scheme of things.
Awesome. Well, thank each of you for being here today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your work and working with Austin Pets Alive. Thank you, Ellen, for implementing all of their strategies and their ideas. And thank you, Ethan, for the work that you do in teaching these students how to be good leaders. So again, I thank all of you for being here today. Congratulations on your commencements.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Well, if you need more information about McCombs' MBA program, we have a link in the description of this video. And also you can get to it from the link on our screen. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you next time.